Hello, my name is Crescent Jicol and I'm a PhD student at the University of Bath. In this video, I'll be presenting our paper titled Effects of Emotion and Agency on Presence in Virtual Reality. Arguably, one of the most important characteristics of virtual reality is its ability to induce higher levels of presence compared to other conventional forms of media such as 2D screens. Significant advancements have been made in what concerns the technical aspects of VR over the last 3 decades, and yet research has remained inconclusive on how presence is affected by human-related factors such as emotion and agency. Even more so, it is unknown whether emotion and agency interact in the presence creation process. Additionally, we were interested in whether the valence of emotions elicited by the virtual environment will result in different presence levels. We thus had 2 design factors which we named emotion V and agency V respectively, and several subjective factors which were intensity, which is the intensity of the dominant emotion in each environment, subjective agency, which was the degree to which participants felt they controlled the virtual environment, and the third one was presence. Our hypotheses for the study were as follows. 1. The intensity of the dominant emotion in each virtual environment will correlate positively with presence. 2. Presence will be significantly higher in environments where participants have agency. And 3. Agency will moderate the effect of emotion on presence. Here we adopt a novel design to investigate the effects of both emotions and agency on presence by testing virtual environments inducing either happiness or fear with or without user agency. We employed a between participants design, and in total we recruited 121 participants. In the non-agency condition, users could only observe a friendly dog as seen in the video. In the happy condition with agency, users could interact with the dog via laser pointer. The dog reacted to the laser pointer so as to create a feeling of agency. The fear scenario occurred in the exact same park environment at night, and instead of the friendly dog, there was a creature which would attack the participant. In the non-agency condition, the user could not defend themselves, while in the agency one, they could use a flashlight to fend off the creature, thus creating the feeling of agency. Results showed that the dominant emotion induced by a virtual environment is positively correlated with presence. Thus, in the happiness conditions, it was the level of felt happiness which predicted presence, and the felt level of fear predicted presence in the 2 fear conditions. We can thus accept the first hypothesis. For the second hypothesis, we found that presence was higher in the condition which facilitated agency only in the fear scenario. The same was not found for the happiness conditions. Therefore, we could only partially accept the second hypothesis. The explanation for this effect could be the special status of fear amongst all other emotions, as it benefits from cognitive and perceptual priority, which stems from its evolutionary role in survival functions. If the creature we used in the fear condition did in fact trigger a fight or flight response, this could have made agency all the more important for defense, and thus made it more salient to participants. It can be thus said that agency does in fact moderate the effect of emotion on presence, which validates our third hypothesis. Last but not least, our data allowed us to build a structural equation model, or SEM, which shows us how our 2 design variables, namely emotion V and agency V, seen on the left of the graph, impact emotion intensity and reported subjective agency directly. As expected, emotion V and agency V also interact, and this results in further impact on felt emotions and agency. Finally, the observed dissociation between emotion and presence is also reflected in the SEM, in that the regression coefficient for the effect of agency on presence is much higher compared to that of intensity. This suggests that emotional intensity is able to predict presence in VR, but to a lesser extent than agency is. Furthermore, our model gives VR designers a tool to predict the effects of their design choices and thereby optimize designing for presence. Ultimately, it becomes apparent from the SEM that controlling only emotions or only agency in VR cannot suffice for ensuring presence. Instead, the interrelations between emotion and agency and their influence on presence mean that VR designers need to prioritize agency in the right circumstances while designing the V to elicit high levels of emotions. Thank you very much for listening from me and my co-authors.